There's nothing that enrages me more than fat models.
I don't like the celebration of morbid obesity.
You're okay in the skin that you're in.
The stress is everything.
Just don't sit there getting fatter. Do something about it.
I am fat.
The fact that I have rolls on my belly doesn't make me any less of a human being.
Yo, on my Instagram, I posted something on my story saying, hard pills to swallow. Obesity is a choice. When I posted that, I got a lot of feedback, like 20 or so responses, and there were some shares, and I'm sure that when people responded to me, they were telling me the things that I want to hear. People don't respond looking for a fight. People don't like to fight. People like to avoid that. People will then go into the comments section sometimes and say some things where it might incite a little bit of fighting. But what I like to do here is I can speak my mind and then I can get my entire point across before you have a chance to, interject and fight me. So if you want to fight me, watch the whole video and then fight me at the end at the bottom of this. But I do believe that obesity is a choice. And you're going to say, Andrew, you don't know what it's like. But before you say that, you might not know because you've only been following me for a couple of days. Or maybe you've known me for a long time. Maybe you've known me for 5 to 10 years. And in that 5 to 10 years, I've been the fitness guy. I freaking ran the CrossFit gym. I freaking was a personal trainer before that. I was freaking college wrestler. But before that, I was a fat little dude. I was the fattest little dude ever. I am now 5'10" and about 195. And when I was a kid, all the way up until the point where I was like 13 or 14 years old, I was probably 5'3" and upwards of 210. So the picture didn't do it for you? I'll show you something else. You ready for this one? Here we go. This is what happens. So I have all this loose skin everywhere. I mean, it's freaking everywhere. It's on my chest. I mean, you're just skin. But when you look at my stomach, it's like I can really get after it. And I can really pull on some of this stuff. Like, what does that look like? It looks like I lost a bunch of weight, right? So there's just a flap. I'll ask people, I'm like, hey, you want to grab onto this? It's like it doesn't hurt. Like, pull as hard as you want. You can't freaking hurt the freaking skin. And it just goes back in. So I am currently 15 pounds lighter than my heaviest, and I am about 7 or 8 inches taller. And I'm going to see if I can find some pictures of myself as a fat kid, but back then, I didn't like being photographed. I wasn't very comfortable with it. It was a very insecure thing. I remember I went to a Catholic school. When you were Catholic school, you have a uniform that you got to wear. Catholic schools don't have AC. And when that stuff would happen, it would make it very uncomfortable when I would wear a sweatshirt year-round because I didn't want people to look at me. I was very uncomfortable with my body. I'd wear the sweatshirt. I'd walk into school. It would be freaking 90 degrees outside and 100 degrees inside because it's hotter on the inside of a building without air conditioning. I'd be sweating my balls off, and I wouldn't want to take the sweatshirt off because I was too afraid that people would look at me. You gotta wear the same thing, but the sweatshirt was part of the dress code. That was cool. So I could speak from a little bit of point of view here that maybe some people on the internet that don't have that point of view. Lots of people are just in shape. I wasn't just in shape. I had to get there. Greg Doucette put out this video initially. He covered the topic that was from 2019 on do all plus size models think the same? I'm not a plus size model. This is where I went with my life. I chose to, I didn't want to be obese. I made the choice to not be it. The only thing that I really think, and I'm going to expand upon this, is that where Greg Doucette says calories in, calories out, that's kind of his thing, and I do agree with that. Calories in a deficit will help you lose weight, make you lose weight. There's no way around it. The law of thermodynamics, right? My thing is knowledge is power. The bigger the toolbox of stuff up in here, the more likely you are to then go ahead and do right by yourself. If you want to know everything there is to know about losing weight and then you don't want to do it, that's okay. But when I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I would just give the food that I was given. It's like, oh, I like McDonald's. That tastes good. Just like if you were a freaking dog out in the yard and I gave you an entire pizza, the dog's gonna eat the whole pizza because it tastes good. That was me as a kid, but with McDonald's and Portillo's and Subway. And I did this on a podcast where I talked about we'd roll up to the Subway and by the time we were at the counter, they already had our freaking order made because we went there so much. And I would eat McDonald's. And when I was a freaking 12-year-old kid eating McDonald's, it'd be a double quarter pounder with a 20-piece nugget and a large fry and a large chocolate shake. And what I would do is I'd rip up the nuggets, I'd put them onto the double quarter pounder, I'd put a handful of fries on the top. I would eat the double quarter pounder with all that stuff, and I would be dipping it in the chocolate milkshake. And when I was done, I wasn't full. I was able to eat again 3 hours later. It was ridiculous. So I'm going to play some clips from this video, and hopefully with that, you can't just say, Andrew, you're a piece of shit. You're just talking about fat people. Because I was a fat dude. I was so fat. And you know what I did? I did everything I could to learn how to get better because no one else was doing it for me. I'm going to try and help you do it for you if you want. If you don't want to listen, turn the video off. I don't care. Here we go.
I am here is because I feel like in the past, fat has been such like a derogatory term, and like we've been so like ridiculed for the way we look. It's almost like I want to take that word back and make it a positive thing. Like, oh, someone called me fat, so negative, and be like, yes, I am. You know what I mean? Just like change the way we think of it.
A lot of words that should offend me don't. I think it's because I'm just kind of like, I don't even need the word to know your intention.
Exactly.
So I know your intention, and if you're using it to like hurt me, I don't care what word you use. I care that you wanted to hurt me. I just don't look at like a word like that as being like.
You don't want to give it power.
No, I don't want to give it weight.
Yes.
Okay, so they have this set up really cool. They have it set up with all these lines, and they bring topic up, and then they break upon break. And they say, hey, I disagree or I agree with the topic. And the topic here, first question that they ask is the word fat offensive? When they break, they all move to disagree or strongly disagree. And why is that? I think it's because they're all plus-size models. When you think of a model, you think of somebody whose line of work has to do with exactly what they look like. It would be very hard for me to believe that they're able to go ahead and go into this line of work and not be comfortable in their own skin. This doesn't apply to everybody. It didn't apply to me. When I was younger, I was very worried about people calling me fat. And you know what? Not very many people had called me fat. It wasn't something that I knew. It was something that I assumed. It was going on in here. So what I'm getting at here is all of these people have a very good sense of self. When I was younger, and most young people don't have a very good sense of self, it's something that you need to develop a little bit. And the stronger you get with that sense of self, the less likely it is that a word like hey, the word fat is going to offend you. Or the word obese. Obese is a medical term. Like if you're a BMI at a certain level, then you're obese. It's just how it works. And you'll also hear these people talk about the way that the word is portrayed. So it's like, all right, dude, you're fat. All right, you go to the doctor, you jump on the scale, it's like, you're overweight. It's like, well, A equals B. Obviously, you're overweight. But then there's also the way where people will say, ugh, you're fat. And when you say it like that, that's not nice. Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you do that to another human being? That's not cool. And it's also up to them. So, like, maybe they like being fat. And if they like being fat, that's cool. These people, it's their thing. They're plus-size models. It's the way they go about it. Who am I or anyone else to say that they can't do whatever they want to do? And whether or not it's healthy, I don't think it's very healthy to be overweight. I mean, there's medical literature saying that's not very healthy. But do they care? It's their body. I don't care.
Being plus size is a choice. 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm going to let you know right here, right now, that you have a choice. I'm a good example of someone who's a choice. I was a huge motherfucker when I was a kid. And if I were on here, I would go all the way to the other side, where I strongly agree that being plus size would be a choice for me. Now let's hear what they have to say.
I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. Everyone was so happy for me. I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated why I exercised and things like that. And so I made the conscious decision of my parents are not going to be supportive, or maybe they won't like it. My community, the Korean community, is going to be really disappointed that there's a fat Korean walking around the world. But it was a choice for me to say, well, I don't want to work out 8 hours a day every day and hate what I look like to be skinnier. So I'm going to let myself eat more than a quarter cup of white rice today.
Good point brought up right here is that extrinsic factors should never be the reason that you want to lose weight. You should want to lose weight or be, I don't know, anything other than the way you are, because that's the way that you want to be. That's what's important. Don't do it because someone else or your freaking community says you should be doing it. Do what you want to do. But what I do disagree with what she has to say here is that you work out 8 hours a day. Maybe she's being over aggressive, but when you're overweight, it really has very little to do with the fitness way of it. Like, sure, you can go walk on a treadmill or walk or run. If you run for an hour straight, you might burn an extra 800 calories. But you know what's way easier? Don't go eat a freaking quarter pounder. If you eat a quarter pounder, it's an extra 800 calories. And maybe you are eating well. Maybe you sit in this chair like I've been doing all day. And if you do that sort of thing, it's still up to you to, get up on your feet and move around. And yes, it might be harder for some people, but to say that it isn't a choice is something where you're just taking the easy way out.
I disagree because I believe in society, especially in America, we have this idea that, oh yeah, all fat people ate themselves that way, that they just sit at home and they're lazy and they don't do anything and they ate themselves that way. But
no, but like, yes, you have a point. There are people out there who probably think that fat people are just lazy and they don't do anything, but to an extent or degree, you always need to own up to the fact that there is a little bit less that you do that you could be doing more of. Like, you don't need to eat quite as much as you do, or you probably need to be on your feet a little bit more than you are. So I'm a perfect example. Like, when I was young, all I did was sit at home and play video games and eat crap food. What happened is I got fat. And once I started to educate myself on the fact it's like, if I eat all this calorically dense food and I don't move all day, then I'm going to get a little bit bigger. When I moved, I went to a different town and I met some buddies, and my buddies, we were on our feet all day. We played sports all day. And when we did that sort of thing, and then I would also eat higher quality food all the time once I moved. Then I started to see the weight come off. I'm like, oh, how did that work? And then I looked further and further into it. It was a choice that I made. And I could have very easily never wanted to make that choice. But again, that is up to you.
They don't take into account people who have a disease. They don't take into account people who work out and their body is just built that way. So there are all of these other factors that the average person who's judging people don't take into account, and they just look at someone and they say, oh, you're fat and you're not doing anything about it.
Here's where I bring up the fact that you have one life. And you're born at one point and then you die at another point. Between those 2 points, you have an option. And your option is to either be the best version of yourself, whatever that is in your head. And I've talked about that. If you want to be a bigger person, that's completely okay. But when you're in your deathbed, it was your choice every step of the way to be the way that you were. And if you're somebody who's going to sit upon the fact that you were a bigger person and it was never your fault, like this is just how you were born, sure, there are body types where you're going to look a little bit bigger. Maybe there are individuals who hold a little bit more muscle mass, they're a little bit bulkier, maybe they're a little bit broader because of their skeleton, and that is just the way it is. But there's never an excuse for you to be anything other than what you want to be from point A to point B within your life.
But I also want to throw out there, like, it is possible that people have eaten themselves to that point, but then you look at, like, why did that happen? Like, there's trauma, there's rough coping mechanisms. There's so many different things that can lead to somebody resorting to that and then eating themselves into this situation. Because I know that's what happened to me. I didn't choose it, but it happened.
Every single day, you go and take the dog on a walk. You do it every single day, 365 days out of the year. It's a half-hour walk. And one of these days, you happen to get hit by a car, because the car decided to go off the road, and it was just 1 out of 365 opportunity that it happened. What she's bringing up right here is that she said she didn't have a choice. She was doing what she always does, and she just ended up being overweight. And that is not a fair thing to say. Every single time that you decide to put some sort of food in your mouth, it is entirely up to you. And maybe you're right now in a way of life where you do sit all day. That is also your choice. Sure, clearly I like the fitness thing. This is my thing, but it didn't have to be. At every single point in life, I could have decided to go have some sort of a desk job. Everyone's definition of easy or hard is completely different. You gotta choose your hard. Choose like what you want to be hard. Is it worth it? If it's not worth it, then just do it. But don't use the certain terminology to just give yourself an easy way out and say, this wasn't my fault.
I've been criticized for my size. 3, 2, 1, go.
Come on, everyone.
People feel that they have the right to come up to you and impose their views onto you about your personal body. The fact that I have rolls on my belly and big thighs doesn't make me any less of a human being. My body is not for you. I didn't ask you. That's it.
So yeah, this is probably going to be the clearest one of all of them, like the most, hey, this is definitely something that happens, because it isn't just something that happens with you when you're overweight. This is something that happens to you when you're in shape. And I'll speak not from my experience, but from working with females who have muscle. And it's almost something that happens when your female has muscle. It's an outward expression to some people to come up and touch you. So, hey, you work out. You must really like to be talked about how you work out. And they no, that's not fucking something people want to talk about. Like, leave people alone. Let them do whatever they want. It's their body. They don't do it for any other reason, which is what this female talks about right here. This is their body. They do it because they want to. And some people, maybe they do want to talk about it, but let them be the ones to talk about it. I'm the guy who talks about the fitness stuff all the time. And I can guarantee you that none of you out there, anyone who's watching, people I've interacted with in person, have I come up to you and offered you advice first. I let you guys talk talk to me first. And then if you want to talk about it, then we'll have a discussion. And even then, I'm still like very reserved because I don't want to put my opinions upon you. I'm sharing them on this video because I don't know, if you want to receive it, go ahead and receive it. If you want to turn the video off, turn the video off. But that is how I think most people should be. Don't go up and, touch people's muscles because they have muscle. It's like they're their freaking muscles. These are their people's freaking bodies. And if they want to be overweight, that's cool. Don't criticize it for them, but everyone's criticized.
Many people get more privileges. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, wait. I went the wrong way.
I had to quit a whole career because of my size. Like, I got my first degree in musical theater performance. I was ready to go to Broadway. And then through college, I gained 65 pounds. And not only did I watch my professors lose interest in me, but I watched casting people lose interest in me. And that's how I ended up in education, because I want to teach that that's not okay. You can play any role, because that's what's baffling to me, is that we're in an age where in theater, we can suspend our disbelief that like animals can talk and things like that, but we can't accept that a plus size person could have somebody fall in love with them unless it's Hairspray. Like, that's the only story we get, and that's infuriating.
This is where it's going to get a little bit rough, because I don't agree at all with what this female has to say. And it's, hey, there was a point in time in my life where I wanted to win the CrossFit Games, and I had to be about 5'9", about 190. That would give me the best chance to win the CrossFit Games. All other things aside, most people were that shape and size. If you want to go be the actor in the Jumanji movie and you want to play the role of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you better be a freaking massive dude. If you want to be the Terminator in the 90s, you better look like Schwarzenegger, have all that muscle, because nobody wants to see the Terminator at 350 pounds. It's just not the way that you're going to be able to sell movies. So when you're a box office and you're putting a movie out and you want to be you want to have somebody who's like a super badass, and all these people are going to watch the Terminator and say it's one of the best movies of all time, Terminator 2, then it's not up to that person to say, okay, you know what, we're going to go against the grain and we're going to take a huge risk on somebody. So this female brings up the fact that she had to make a career change in Broadway because she didn't want to change for the people around her. And why should they do that if they have a product that they're putting out, a product for people where they're trying to do what they want to do? It's their image, it's their company, it's their freaking Broadway. And if you want to have Captain America or Wonder Woman, it's something that everybody knows what it looks like. And if you do anything other than that, cool, maybe that was their vision. But it's always about their vision, and it's not their job to change for you. It's your job to say, hey, I want to play that role. This is what this role looks like. And you should be doing everything you can to beat out everybody else in that position. Gal Gadot goes to play Wonder Woman. She talks about how she worked out. She wanted to fit the role. She portrayed herself to be Wonder Woman. And if you look at someone like Jonah Hill in Superbad, he played the curly-haired fat dude in the movie, and everyone loved him for it, and that was his role. And it wouldn't have worked if they used somebody like Andrew Garfield in that role, because he was a skinny, nerdy-looking dude. That works for Spider-Man. That's just how it works. I mean, sure, if you want an example of something that isn't a movie, I'm just a movie guy. I like movies, but I also watch the stuff that's going on in the NFL. And if you want to have the best NFL coach, why don't you want to try to be the best NFL coach? Or if you're going to go work at a place like Apple or Microsoft, why don't you want to be the best Microsoft employee? You want to be the smartest, the best at what you do, the best data analyst or whatever the hell you do with these companies. Put yourself in a position to succeed at these places. Beat everybody else around you. Don't say, I deserve to be an Apple worker because I deserve to be an Apple worker because I said so. And that's kind of what I hear. It's like, you should change your goals for me because I'm the most important. And to these people with their money, you aren't the most important. All right? Now, I very much disagree with what this person says, and it's just a very defeatist attitude. Like, be better.
I love my body. 3, 2, 1, go.
I love my body, but it took a lot of time to get there.
This is a perfect opportunity to wrap up this entire video because I brought this up in the beginning. It wasn't something that I liked when I was younger, being overweight. I understood that. I thought that everybody thought that I was a disgusting piece of crap. I wore the sweatshirt in school because I wanted to hide myself. This individual right here says it took her a lot of time to become used to the fact and understand that she liked her body the way that it was. And this goes for anybody, anywhere, anytime. You don't have to be fat, skinny, overweight, muscular, whatever. It's going to take you some time to become comfortable with yourself. And the people who are the most charismatic and happiest people that you know are probably just people who are living their lives knowing that they're happy doing what they're doing, where they're doing it, while they're doing it. And if they're insecure, quiet, whatever, you might not even know these people because they're not very outgoing. Some people of the best I know are the ones that once they open up, it just took some time for them to get there because they need some time to become comfortable in situations with themselves, with the people around them, whatever. So what I'm telling you here is be super comfortable. The more comfortable you can be, the better. And the other thing that I'm telling you is don't take a book by its cover. So I put up the post that says obesity is a choice. I very much do believe that obesity is a choice. These people here may or may not share that opinion, but I'm coming from the perspective of I gave myself every bit of knowledge that I could get to get to a point in which I'm at right now. Is it the best point? No. The best point is the one that you want to live in. So if you clicked on this video and you're like, here we go, I'm ready to fight this dude, this fit dude who talks all this shit on the internet, and you're not now at this point leaving with a different perspective on me and how I view people, then I don't know what to tell you. I have no chance at changing your mind on anything ever, really. But if you did take a bit of a different perspective and you say, okay, it's up to you and you want to stay and remain the way that you look and you're completely happy with it, that's cool too. I'm here saying be super happy with yourself. If you want to explore like getting better, just keep watching videos, subscribe to my channel. I'll talk more about this type of stuff. I want to see how this does, and hopefully I don't get too many hateful comments in there. So yeah, to comment, share the video, send it to your buddies, say, hey, this dude is sharing a real interesting perspective on what it takes to be fat, not fat, whatever. Remember, fat isn't a bad word. Bad words are like the ones that if I say too many of them, I get demonetized. So I'm not going to say those. Andrew Hiller. Bye.